Hello, everyone. Hello, Farai, and thank you so much for coming with us today, Professor Francisco. We are very happy to host you for our first videocast, in which we want to have discussions and to collaborate together to develop the quantum ecosystem across Africa. So may I start by presenting myself? So my name is Sahar bin Rached. I am currently a research master's candidate in nanotechnology at the University of Tunis Al Manar. And I'm also doing my research master thesis in quantum computing. I am currently based in Tunisia, and I would like to greet everyone everywhere. And thank you so much for joining us. So Farai, if you would like to also present yourself and let's start the conversation today.
So thank you very much, Sahar, and it's really a pleasure to have you on and to be doing this videocast with you and to be speaking to people across Africa and the world about quantum tech. So like Sahar says, my name is Farai Majandu. I'm the president for OneQuantum Africa. It's part of OneQuantum, which is a global community which brings people together to learn and have fun in quantum and make sure that everyone who has got interest and is active in quantum has got an opportunity to contribute and to learn and to connect at a global level, as well as build strong local communities. And it's my pleasure to be here and to also join Professor Petrocini, who is with us today. And you could introduce yourself, Prof, briefly before we give it back to Sahar to get us going with the day.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Sahar and Farai. A big honor to be the first person on your video cast. So thank you very much for that big honor. Yeah. So my name is Francesco Petruccione. I'm a research chair in quantum information processing and communication at the University of KwaZulu-Natal in Durban in South Africa. And at the moment, I'm also the interim director of NITEX. You see it behind me, which is the National Institute for Theoretical and Computational Sciences.
Okay, welcome, Professor. It's a great honor for us to host you today. So as we started this initiative of videocast because we want to have discussions with experts who are currently working on developing and educating quantum technologies and especially quantum computation in different countries across Africa. So we would like to hear from you as an expert and as a researcher and scientist. Why should we care about quantum in Africa in the first place?
Yeah, because everybody cares about quantum all over the world, so we shouldn't be any different. I mean, you know it as well as I do. You know, you just need to open a newspaper at random, and there is an article on quantum computing or some other fancy quantum technology. Yeah? And in Africa, we also need to be aware of the opportunities that new technology brings with it. Yeah. You know, in the past, you just think back 50 years or so, Africa, not only South Africa, but I think the whole of Africa, yeah, completely missed out on the semiconductor industrial revolution, yeah, that went to other countries more east of us, yeah, and now there is another similar opportunity, yeah, where there is a dramatic change in technology, yeah, and Africa should try to grab a share of this quantum cake, yeah, and join the others, yeah, to the party. Yeah, so there is no reason why we shouldn't. Yeah.
Yes, so there is indeed a very big potential for quantum technologies in the upcoming years to revolutionize the technology as we know it today. And as you have said, we should, as Africans, take the initiative and also take the leap to join the race and to contribute to the development of this technology and not just stay and wait until the technology is completely developed and start from there. So as a first step, I think we should all agree that the first thing to do is to develop the skill set and the expertise to also form groups of researchers and engineers and scientists who will also have their own contributions and their own place in the quantum ecosystem and the quantum scientific space. So Professor, what do you suggest we should do as first steps in order to develop the human capital in Africa and to work on reinforcing the skill sets of our engineers and scientists in order to be competitive in the landscape?
Yeah, no, you essentially already give me the answer. Yeah, no, you know, at the core is skills, of course. Yeah, and you know, and Africa is the youngest continent around. Yeah, there are hundreds of millions of young people scattered across Africa. Yeah. And so the first step is to make accessible training and education first maybe in quantum physics and then in quantum computing and the other quantum technologies. Yeah, so you know, education and training is core for everything. Yeah. And you know, and there are, you know, and you can do it at many levels. Yeah. You know, one is we need to start lobbying that universities start offering quantum computing courses. Yeah, I just say quantum computing, but it could be quantum communication, it could be quantum metrology, it could be quantum anything. Yeah. You know, in many countries, there are already lots of discussion of introducing quantum-related courses already in high school. Yeah, there are quantum physics books for babies. Yeah, so depending where you want to enter. Yeah, but there is a huge need for first of all for training, but also for, you know, for lobbying, because, you know, some of the institutions that should offer this course maybe are not really aware of what they're supposed to do. Yeah, so there is you know, it is probably events like this and people like you, yeah, that has to network with their colleagues, yeah, and friends and lobby to have quantum computing courses everywhere. Yeah, it should be, you know, slowly it will become a core component of physics and engineering training, yeah, and computer science for that matter. Yeah, you know, this year for the first time, you know, I've been teaching an introductory course to quantum computing for many years at UKZ10. Yeah, and this year I taught it for the first time to computer science students. Yeah. As part of their honors degree. Yeah. And computer science students don't have any quantum mechanics background, yeah? At least not in the standard curriculum. Yeah. And it worked very well. Yeah, you know, in a semester you manage to train them from zero to hackathon level. Yeah. and some did really very, very well. Yeah. So it's not, you know, it's not something that requires too much. Yeah, in one semester, essentially, I'm pretty sure you can train anyone who has some, let's say, standard mathematical background. Yeah, you know, if you have to start from A plus B equal B plus A, maybe it's a little bit difficult. Yeah, but if you start from someone who had a calculus course and standard linear algebra, and maybe yeah, as every science faculty offers, or engineering for that matter, then it's fairly straightforward in a limited amount of time to train people. Yeah, at least to have an operational knowledge of programming knowledge of quantum computing, for instance. Yeah, you know, if you then want to go a little bit deeper, it takes, of course, a little bit longer. Yeah, but to be able to write some code for one of the quantum computers that are already in the cloud, it's not so challenging. Yeah, it's fairly straightforward. Yeah, at least that's my experience. Yeah, you know, and it was very fun to teach computer scientists that don't have any previous quantum experience, because they ask you what is H bar, yeah, and you know, as a physics professor, you haven't heard that question in a long time, yeah. But yeah, so that, but they did very well, and you know, just a slightly different way of thinking, and if you guide them along the process, it's just fine. Yeah.
That's great to hear. So thank you so much for sharing your experience with computer science students, and we really hope to see many universities coming together and also including quantum computation curriculum in their universities and their campuses on all different levels, as you have mentioned at the beginning. So Farai, I will hand it to you from here to continue the discussion with Professor.
Thank you very much. And I'm really excited to hear about the computer science students who had to go through quantum, and how, you know, the prof is positive about the outcomes and how they are getting started. And I think it is inspiring, and we need to do much more of that in the different universities and places of education as well. It is encouraging to hear that.
I have the experience now with computer science, but it needs to go also to engineering, to mathematics, to other disciplines, yeah, to chemistry, yeah. It needs slowly to diffuse, yeah, yeah.
But it's a good start. Thank you for that effort, Prof, and for sharing that as well. So one other thing that is usually topical in Africa is you get your best students leaving the continent to go and excel or continue their studies outside the continent. What do you think we can do, one, to keep our best talent in the continent, or if ever it leaves, to attract it back and you know, allow them to settle in the continent and to share their knowledge with the local communities?
You know, first of all, I don't think there is anything bad in going, and if someone wants and study somewhere else, yeah, that's just fine. Yeah, I'm Italian, but I studied in Germany, yeah, for the same reason that I also wanted to go and see the big world. Yeah, but you know, when I studied many moons ago, Germany was just far enough. You know, it took a night in the train for me to go home. Yeah. And now it took, from Africa, it takes me a night in the plane to go and visit my mother. Yeah? So nothing changed essentially. Yeah? It's just a different transportation means. So there is nothing wrong with young people wanting to go and study overseas or do their master somewhere else and the PhD somewhere. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. The only point is that, you know, it's two-way. Yeah. We need to get somebody also flowing back in. Yeah. And you know, and I don't think that is the magic recipe, yeah. But the important thing is that when there are positions available, yeah, we should advertise them in such a way that that people that left Africa for whatever reason, yeah, might be interested in coming back, yeah. And that means, for instance, that the universities need to be competitive, because, you know, if someone from Africa does a PhD and a postdoc position at Caltech, yeah, and he wants to come back home, he would like to come back to something that is comparable to Caltech. Yeah, usually those people don't want to ruin their career by ending up in a place that doesn't support them. Yeah, so we need here institutions that take over that role, yeah, to be attractive for other people, yeah. And it is really attractive to work in Africa, yeah. You know, there are things in Africa that you can't do anywhere else. Yeah, so there is no reason why we shouldn't be able to attract other people, yeah. But, you know, we need to create there are already some conditions, some places that are attractive anyway, but we need probably more of such places, yeah. And in particular, we need more people to do the effort to reach out to the African diaspora all over the world, yeah, if they wanted to attract them back, yeah. You know, that as I said before, there's nothing wrong in going and study somewhere else. You know, it's part of the personal journey of everybody. You know, not everybody wants to do it, yeah, but some people want. You know, some get, like me, get stuck then outside of their home country, yeah. But I'm pretty sure that Italy imported someone else from somewhere else, yeah. So, you know, as long as there is a kind of an equilibrium, yeah, in what goes out comes in, yeah. Because you don't want to have a complete brain drain, yeah, as they say. That we don't want. That would be a catastrophe. Yeah, in particularly now that you know, what we are talking about is belongs to high tech. Yeah, you know, it takes You know, I mentioned it takes a semester to train a computer science student, but it takes 4 years to produce that computer science student. Yeah, so it's you know, if you add everything together, it's many years of training. Yeah, and that honors computer science student needs to do his or her masters, the PhD, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so it's a lot of effort to train someone to become a researcher with a global standing. Yeah? And if we want to attract those people here back home, yeah, then we need to offer them the possibility to continue to grow. Yeah, they need to have access to funding, to set up their own group, to organize conferences, you know, not everybody is just a quantum computing software developer. Yeah, some people want to build hardware. Yeah, or some people want to do experiments in quantum optics, in quantum communication, in quantum metrology, in sensing. Yeah, or in quantum imaging, and that costs money. Yeah, because setting up experimental labs costs money, unfortunately. You know, you can always play it clever and try to do it low cost. Yeah, but it costs money anyway. Yeah, and there needs to be you know, lobby from Africa to have that research fund. Yeah, and that's why. I think initiatives like this one, yeah, are very important, because you know, we have probably more contacts to New Zealand than we have to Tunisia, yeah, in our joint research. Yeah? And that's in principle not odd, yeah, because we are on the same continent and they are on the other side. Yeah? And the problem is that, you know, sometimes we just don't know what's going on in Tunisia. Yeah? And it is these initiatives that make it happen. Yeah, and you know, that's the greatest advantage, not intended, of course, of COVID. Yeah, that we are not scared of Zoom anymore. Yeah. You know, in the past, you know, I would have learned something about what's going on in Tunisia only if there was a conference in Tunisia and I would have traveled there, or the other way around. Yeah. Now, you know, now that I know Sarah, we can Skype tomorrow again if we want to. Yeah. And she can organize for me to speak to her supervisor, and the other way around. Yeah. And we can organize a joint webinar or something like that. Yeah. That there is this new dimension now, yeah, that makes it much easier. Yeah, you know, we could have done it 2 years ago as well, but we didn't, because we knew that, you know, we catch a plane, we go visit and come back, and it's more fun. Yeah, but it's equally fun, you know, to be able to dial a number or press a link and you speak and interact with people. Yeah. I developed many interesting relationships last year, yeah, with people that I was not so familiar with before COVID. But then, you know, you Skype once, then you Skype twice, and at the end, you end up Skyping once a week because you work on something together. Yeah. So there are the tools that we need to use more. Yeah, and you know, and your OneQuantum is just one of the many initiatives. There are others, yeah. But the important thing is to establish these networks, yeah. And you know that many years ago I started the Quantum Africa conference series, yeah. And I think this year it was supposed to be in Rwanda, yeah. And you know, and we need to start lobbying now to do it in Zoom, yeah, so that at least we have continuity, yeah. And it doesn't fall apart. Yeah, so that's one of the things that I need to reactivate. Yeah, that we need to move that online. Yeah, and yeah, no, and things like that. Yeah. So it's much easier now because we're now all used to Zoom in, Zoom out, Skype in, Skype out, or whatever you use. Yeah, and it's not difficult and doesn't cost much. At least the university usually take over the cost of the Zoom subscription. Yeah, so it's just fine. Yeah, yeah. Sorry for I forgot what your question.
which was the point, Professor?
Yeah. Yes, I went a little bit off the tangent. Yeah, yeah.
it was after you had answered everything, so we are happy and we are good to go. So
Okay.
I was going to say to you, so how do we foster this collaboration between universities and key industry players? I know it's a tired question, but I guess it is always going to be very important, because on our meetings there are a lot of students who come through and are always complaining about the lack of a clear path to commercialize research. So how do we bridge that gap? How have you been finding it to interact with people in industry, and what do you think needs to happen?
Yeah, no, that's a difficult one. 10 years ago, probably more than 10 years ago, with some of my students at the time, we also set up a spin-off company that wanted to sell QKD equipment. Yeah, but after a couple of years, we didn't manage to sell anything. So that experiment failed miserably. Yeah, but probably 10, 15 years ago, it was too early. Yeah, because everything was way too expensive, and there was not the hype that there is at the moment, where everybody is worried that they could miss out on some opportunities, on some technology or some safety or whatever. Yeah. So that you need to have the right ecosystem. Yeah. I think there are many aspects to your question. Yeah. One is, people that enter this quantum computing, quantum technology business, will they have opportunities to set up their own companies, yeah, or their own spin-off companies, yeah, for sure, yeah. But we don't have really in South Africa, or in Africa for that matter. I mean, I'm not very familiar with what happens in Tunisia in that respect, but just by extrapolating, yeah, we don't have the real venture capital mentality that that you have in Silicon Valley or in Canada, where they have lots of venture capital companies specialized in quantum technologies. Yeah. We need to get there, yeah, and and it's event like this that contribute to the right atmosphere, to the right quantum atmosphere, yeah? When that will happen here as well, yeah. So the opportunities, I have no doubt, yeah. If I were 30 years younger, I would go immediately for my quantum startup, yeah. Now I hope that my students set up their quantum startups, and maybe I end up sitting on the board of their company. Yeah, but there are opportunities. Yeah, but the important thing is to have the right ecosystem. Yeah, you need first, let's say, within university, train students in such a way that they can come up with an idea to do something. Yeah? But then they need funding. So first they need maybe some seed funding from the university, but then the costs increase. Then you need some funding from some venture capital company or some angel investor or whatever. And that whole ecosystem needs to match. And you also need people, other industry that want to buy the stuff. Yeah, because you can develop the fanciest product. If nobody wants it, you fail miserably as well. Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time that something like that happened in history. Yeah? There are many companies that claim to have some fancy product, but nobody wants it for whatever reason. Yeah, maybe they just miscalculated the interest. Yeah. Or maybe it was not the right time, or it was not the right color, or it was not the right size, or whatever. Yeah, it's all a fine-tuning process, and there are many countries that struggle to fine-tune it, even for other industry, not just for the quantum technology industry. Yeah? But it's not many pieces of a puzzle that need to fall in place at the same time for it to happen. Yeah. But I think at the core of everything is, again, the sharing of information. Yeah? You need to reach, for training, you need to reach the university and convince them to offer the courses. Yeah? You need to reach out to industry and tell them, listen, there is here an opportunity to do something better with quantum computers. You need to reach out to the banks and tell them, listen, quantum computers could do your portfolio management or your risk analysis much better, much faster, much whatever. Yeah, and make them interested. Yeah, so that they support you. Yeah, of course, you don't have to overpromise. Yeah, because if you promise too much and you don't deliver anything in finite time, that's not good. Yeah. Sorry, let me. This is my phone ringing. Sorry.
It's okay. Hi, Sahar. So, great stuff. So,
sorry, I just stopped it. Otherwise, it would have kept ringing. Sorry for that. Yeah.
no, it's not a problem, Prof.
Yeah. No,
yes,
yeah.
you can continue.
No, please try. Tell me what you want to say.
Okay, so I wanted to ask about what can you say about this route of perhaps you try something in the lab and you want to have more of pilot projects with industrial partners who could test your solutions to see if they work. What are going to be your comments about that? How has that worked in case you have been involved in something like that before? And what could you say were the major takeaways from such a relationship?
No, I mean, if you want to sell something to someone, you need to have something to show. Yeah, it's very difficult, I think, to sell something just on paper or on an idea. Yeah, if you have a proof of concept, yeah, that's what people want to see. Yeah, if they want to give you funding to make it, to make it commercial. Yeah. And develop, a nice user interface or put it in a nice box or whatever. Yeah, yeah. You need to have a proof of concept of something that works. Yeah, okay. Even if it were my money, I wouldn't give you money to to develop something if I don't know that it works, yeah? Or at least if you don't have convincing arguments that it works. Yeah, and the best convincing argument is a proof of concept. Yeah? But even, the same holds even if you want to sell a software solution for a quantum computer, let's say a quantum app. Yeah, you need to show someone that it solves a problem. Yeah, and the problem must be interesting to someone. Yeah, and not only to you. Yeah, it must be interesting to someone who is happy to open the wallet and pay for it. Yeah. In bitcoins or in whatever currency. Yeah? Yeah.
So generally we are saying we don't have so much risk capital in the continent, right? Because perhaps in some of these countries they've built hubs that are structured in a way that allow people to get a bit of money to realize some of these blue sky ideas, and nobody cares whether they work or they don't, because there's always going to be knowledge that comes out of any endeavor, even if the product doesn't come to market.
Yeah, but those are different kinds of fundings. Yeah, you can fund, let's call it some blue sky projects. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah, there are still people that apply for funding to find a solution to quantum gravity. Yeah, that's absolutely fine, because that's a fundamental problem that at some stage we want to understand. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. And and even if they don't give us the solution to quantum gravity, on the way they will learn things. Yeah, but that's more an academic fundamental exercise. Yeah. What you have in mind is more, setting up companies, employing people, selling stuff, and contributing to the GDP. Yeah, that's different funding, because unless you find an investor that is happy to lose money, and probably there are not many of those. Yeah. It will be challenging. You need to, even if it is risk money, because they know that there is a high risk that it fails. Yeah, but there should be a finite probability that you're successful. Yeah, otherwise it's just throwing money away. Yeah.
Okay, so perhaps as we close, one final question would be: you've been doing very well and are renowned as a strategist who has been able to move. Yes, to move the quantum field forward in the continent and in South Africa as well. So what's been the secret to interact with government and encourage them to invest more in research, perhaps in quantum? So how would we do that as well in other countries?
Yeah, I don't know what the secret is, and and every situation is different. But in South Africa, we just finished writing a roadmap for quantum technology and quantum tech computing in South Africa. Yeah, that was approved by our Department of Science and Innovation. Yeah, and it was a long process, because first you need to lobby and make them interested. Yeah, and that can take years. Yeah, can take years. Yeah. And then because what they want to see, of course, before they open the state wallet, yeah, that it is interesting, not just for you, yeah, if I go there and say, I want funding for quantum computing because I'm the best, yeah, probably nobody gives me anything, yeah, but if you can show that there is a whole community working in quantum computing and quantum technology, yeah, that wasn't there 10, 15, 20 years ago. Yeah, because nobody was doing that. Yeah, and if you can show that this community is already working together, is organizing conferences, training students, producing master students, PhD students, and is really trying to achieve something. Yeah, then you can convince them that that there is need. Yeah. Quantum computing is considered, compared to other disciplines, is very new. Yeah, some of the people in government might not have been aware that there is something like like quantum computing. Yeah, maybe now it's easier because it's all over the press, the media. You can't avoid it. Yeah, but 10 years ago it was something a little bit more new. Yeah, that people were not really aware of, and it was not clear whether it will ever work. Yeah, whether it would be a complete failure or a big success. Yeah, but the important thing, you need to show that there is a community of people trying to achieve something. Yeah, and it's also important, not to promise too much, because at some stage it's obvious that that you're just dreaming up things that won't materialize, and that would be very bad, because then if you fail one, then you ruin that part also to other communities. Yeah, because then nobody believes you anymore. Yeah, but as long as there is a community working towards a joint goal, I think all governments will be happy to assist. Yeah, in one way or another. For instance, just as an example, yeah, in our roadmap for quantum computing and quantum technology in South Africa, yeah, we took the decision that we don't want to aim, at least at this stage, yeah, to build our own quantum computer. Yeah, and the reason is very simple. First of all, you end up being in competition with IBM, Google, Intel, you name it, yeah, Rigetti and many others, yeah, and second, it requires huge investments, yeah, because if we want to catch up and build a 60 qubit superconducting quantum computers, we need many millions of dollars, yeah. For instance, at UKZN, we wouldn't have the facilities to do that. Yeah, you need to start. It requires too much funding. Yeah, mm-hmm. That we wouldn't then have for other things. Yeah, that the other lower hanging fruits where we can also contribute to good research and probably also good business. Yeah, without having to build. If after COVID, the government become very rich, we can start again and say, okay, now we want to build our own quantum computer as well. Yeah? But at this moment in time, it would have scared off everybody, yeah, with the request for that kind of funding. And also, the risk is very high because, at the moment, IBM and others propose and push for these superconducting qubits, but it's not really automatic that will be the quantum computer of the future. Yeah? There are still many other technologies. There are ions, photonic quantum computers, yeah? Diamond-based quantum computers, yeah? That still have a fair chance of winning the long-distance game. Yeah? And unfortunately, at least in South Africa at the moment, there would be any chance of saying, okay, we need $100 million for a superconducting quantum computer, $100 million for an ion quantum computer, and $100 million for a photonic quantum computer. Yeah? They would just laugh at us. Yeah? And to be honest, I don't know if I would have said, okay, I promise you we build a photonic quantum computer. Yeah? Because if we failed, that was the last time we get any funding for anything that has the word quantum in it. Yeah. Mainly because funding is a scarce commodity at the moment, yeah, because of COVID and all the rest. Yeah. But we can do lots of things in quantum optics, in quantum communication, in quantum metrology, in sensing, imaging, that is much cheaper. Yeah. And you can do lots of things that are very interesting for medicine, for biology, for chemistry. Yeah? You can program quantum computers and help the chemical industry, for instance, yeah? Or the financial industry. There are many things that we can do, and there are many algorithms that we can invent. Yeah? And the funding that you have, you can distribute it among more people. Yeah, you can use more to train people. Yeah, you can use more funding to organize schools, to develop training materials for many things. Yeah, instead of having just one flagship project that eats up all the funding. Yeah. And then you risk to fail miserably because it turns out you put all your eggs in the superconducting basket and photonic quantum computer has 1 million qubits. Yeah, and then what do? Yeah, then you can just throw it away. Yeah. So that was the thinking of the committee that wrote that roadmap, that it would have been too risky to go for a quantum computer. Yeah? If we were able, for instance, through initiative like this, to bring together many African countries, yeah, and have, I don't know, let's say an African Union project to build a quantum computer, yeah, that would be different, because then there would be lots of funding from many different parts. There could be a consortium of many people working. That would make sense. It would be a kind of a joint African project, yeah. And then, even worst case scenario, you don't build a quantum computer, yeah. At least you brought together the African community, yeah. And that will be already prize number one, yeah. So Farai, maybe you have to go for that, yeah. Go for
For sure, and Sahar as well. So yeah, I think it's very important what you're highlighting. It's a dream that we have, and unfortunately, I'm tempted to ask you one more last question.
Yeah, you're welcome. This is the beginning of a long weekend, so I'm not in a rush. Yeah.
That's okay. Thank you very much for that. So, given that the low-hanging fruits, I'm taking the low-hanging fruits from what you were saying: quantum sensing and metrology, quantum communications, perhaps QKD, where you already have done some groundwork, could be much easier and more impactful in the continent for a start to build a strong foundation for quantum tech in the continent. So. Yes. What we need to do to build on the foundation that is already there to make sure those technologies thrive in the continent, and perhaps bring people together across the borders and work on those things?
Yeah, what we need is a platform to share information. Yeah. And, one of the things that I was thinking just after you sent me the email with the standard question, I was also thinking, what will I say? Yeah. And one thing that I want to do, I started that Quantum Africa series. Yeah. And we need to set up a website. Yeah. That is called something like quantumafrica.org. Yeah. And we use it as a platform. Yeah. To share all quantum activities in the country. Yeah, but Farai, I have nothing against OneQuantum world. Yeah, but I think it's very important that this, for instance, this let's call it this quantumafrica.org, whatever. Yeah, that it is a bottom-up initiative. Yeah, from the community for the community. Yeah. Leaving outside all possible influence from big companies and whatever. Yeah? They might be called upon for sponsorships and things like that, but it should be first a community effort. Sorry, a community effort. Yeah, and it should all be open source, yeah, from the beginning, yeah. It should all be open science and open source, yeah, because that's the only way to get going, yeah. Because the moment you have IP issues, everything becomes very, 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 very difficult, yeah. You know, I have students that have internships or were sponsored by some of the big companies, yeah. And the first thing is here, non-disclosure agreement here, non-disclosure agreement there, IP form here, IP form there, yeah. And you know, then the aim of what we want to achieve gets gets hampered by that, yeah. The community, you know, for instance, if you develop in Zimbabwe a photo detector, yeah, just publish it open source, yeah, and you put it in a repository in GitHub or whatever, yeah. And Sarah in Tunisia can download it and build it as well if she wants to, yeah. Whereas if you patent it immediately, Sarah can't do anything without paying you, yeah. And that's not good. In particular, you know, we are not the US, we are not Japan, yeah. We are developing and we want to get there, yeah. And the only way is to help each other, yeah. And you know, and before that, we need to know that there are others that we can that we can help and could help us, yeah. You know, until today, I wasn't aware of Sarah, yeah. But now I know that if I have an idea that involves Tunisia, bang, I send an email to Sarah, yeah? And if I need something from Zimbabwe, I send an email to you, yeah. So that's very important. And you know, and there is this big push from many countries to promote open science, yeah? And open data and open source and open hardware as well, yeah. And that is the weapon that we need to use, I think, yeah. To play open with all what we do, yeah, and try as many publications as possible to put them in open access journals, yeah. If that for some reason is not possible, you put a preprint in the archive, or you put your code in GitHub, or you put, you know, there are many other repositories as well, or in GitLab or whatever, yeah. But that is crucial, yeah. That's why I think we need an African platform, yeah, where we can first we need to do the inventory of who is there, yeah, okay. And then we do the inventory. What do they do, yeah, and then they can start uploading. You know, for instance, this afternoon we had a webinar in my group. We have invited a postdoc, Paola Obando from Brazil, yeah, to give a talk, yeah. Mm-hmm. And you know, and we shared the information, of course, through the university, through NITEP, the various associates, yeah. But we didn't share it with some quantum group, yeah, some Quantum Africa group, yeah. Mainly because we don't have the platform, yeah? You know, we don't have the MailChimp list to share it. Otherwise, you know, it would have been very easy for Sarah, if she was interested, to click on the Zoom link and listen, yeah, and take part and ask questions, and yeah, and that's what we need to achieve. Yeah, but it's very important, at least in my opinion, that it's a real community initiative, yeah, and open, yeah, so that everybody can access. You don't want any mysteries, you don't want any secrets, yeah. You want to make it open, yeah. And maybe I think I will buy the quantumafrica.org domain and start setting up something, yeah. And you know, and people like you can start filling it with life, yeah. And we can do an inventory. You have already lots of lists of people in Africa. I also have some, yeah. But you know, one is your effort, one is mine effort, but we need a joint effort, yeah. And share the resources that we have, yeah. You know, if one of you is lucky to invite a Nobel Prize winner to give a talk, yeah, these days, you know, it's just a click to reach anyone in South Africa, even if the talk was organized by the university in Tunis, yeah. It doesn't make any difference. And, you know, and we are all more or less in the same time zone. So that's perfect, yeah. that's really nice. Yeah. So that's one of the things that I think we should do. And I'm very grateful to your initiatives, Farai and Sahar, to really make an effort to with these podcasts, videocasts, and your regular weekly meeting and so on and so forth. Yeah. But there are many more initiatives that we don't share like that. Yeah. And sure. We need a kind of a mailing list that every week sends out an email. And this week there is on Monday, there's a talk in Tunis. On Tuesday, there's a talk in Rabat. On Wednesday, there is a talk in Durban. And on Friday, there is a talk, I don't know, in Kenya. Yeah? And people want to listen, they just click. Yeah. I think that would be very important. Yeah. And of course, one day COVID is over and we are all vaccinated, we can start again organize conferences in person for the personal touch. Yeah, but I'm convinced that even going forward, we will make more use of Zoom than traveling to conferences. Yeah, because it's just more convenient and economical. Yeah, there will be, of course, some conference where you really want to go for whatever reason. Yeah. But most of them, we will take part online. Yeah, there will be a kind of a blended system where some people go and some people give the talk via Zoom. Yeah, and it will be just fine. Yeah.
I think I agree with you 100%. Yesterday we had a session by Disalin from Debre Marcos University in Ethiopia. And he was showing his research in quantum photonics, the device that they are thinking of and that they're making. And I think everything else that you say makes sense. That those are the things that we need. And I was asking him about collaborations. Does he have anybody from Africa? Because I know at UKZN, we've got a very strong quantum optics lab there and all that. And I think I'm happy that Yasira Kimara was there, managed to come through a bit. So I think we need this because they want to make a device, and you may have an idea about how to improve some aspect of that device and how to realize it, which they are struggling with. And like you are saying, we are fragmented and we don't have these connections, and it makes it
because we need to bring that person in Ethiopia whose name I didn't really pick up in contact with Yazira, who does exactly the same. Yeah, and and if they work together and publish something together, that's perfect. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much, Prof. I think we got a handful of the things to think about and to act upon, and we hope to hear from you again soon and to learn more whenever we've got something else that's burning. I think we'll always invite you to come for a discussion. I'm not sure, Sahar, if you've got anything else that you want to say or that arose out of the long discussion we had, Prof, and you can come through. Otherwise, we're going to perhaps finish it here.
Yeah, it's like I was expecting the session to be very informative and very insightful. So thank you so much, Professor, for sharing with us. Especially that in Tunisia, we really look up to the experience in South Africa, and we really think that it's a very important country to look up to, because it's actually one of the leading countries in Africa, and we can learn a lot from what's happening there. And we really look forward to collaborations with South Africa and all the research centers there. They're actually very known, and we have like big names that you want to contact, especially, for example, Professor Francesco Petriccioni. I have known you, I mean, virtually, yes, but I have heard about your experience and your initiatives in South Africa long before meeting you today. So that's why I was really looking forward to the talk today. So thank you so much. And it was very informative. And we really look forward to see all the ideas that we have discussed being realized in the real world. And we really look forward to more initiatives being implemented in other countries other than South Africa and Tunisia. So thank you so much, and it was a great pleasure to be with you today.